After Jiang Yang's first love got into a car accident, he insisted on bringing her home to take care of her. I didn't make a fuss and readily agreed. He looked moved. There's nothing between us. I just want to ensure she has a worry-free life with someone to take care of her for the rest of her days. Please don't overthink it. I don't even dare to think about it. I just want to run away as soon as possible. You should know that in 7 days, I will die from overwork, and on the day of my funeral. He and his white moonlight got their marriage certificate. I'm about to die. At the moment of rebirth, this news completely occupied my rational mind, so when Jiang Yang got angry again and suggested bringing his white moonlight to live with us, I no longer resisted, agreed, go pick her up quickly. In the face of life, everything else is trivial. 55 years old, what is there that one cannot see through? Now, I just want to survive. Jiang Yang was stunned, with a look of disbelief, after reacting. He spoke somewhat unnaturally and dryly. Xiao Mai is already disabled, and now I'm the only one she can rely on. There's no other way. I nodded perfunctorily. I rummaged through my bag and pulled out the medical insurance card. Let's go. You're coming with me. He widened his eyes as if he didn't recognize me. Just half an hour ago, I had been acting like a shrew, stubbornly refusing to back down, making a scene as if my life depended on it. I couldn't be bothered to argue and simply walked away. On the way to the hospital, Jiang Yang remained expressionless and silent the entire time. Through the rearview mirror, I could see him repeatedly rubbing his palms, and I knew he was very excited. It was that indescribable joy of having fought hard and finally seen a dream come true after 35 years of marriage. I know the meaning behind every small gesture of his. I smiled wryly to myself, drove the car into the hospital, and after getting out, headed straight for the emergency room. Jiang Yang grabbed my arm and said urgently, "We're going the wrong way. Xiao Mai is in the inpatient building." I sneered and shook him off. "You go pick her up yourself. I feel like I'm about to die and want to get checked for any health issues. I'm not that magnanimous to personally bring his beloved home. I only came to the hospital for a comprehensive checkup." Jiang Yang looked me up and down and scolded angrily. "You just fainted suddenly because you were emotionally overwhelmed. You woke up after only 2 minutes. There's nothing wrong with you. I thought you genuinely accepted Xiao Mai, but I didn't expect you to deliberately curse yourself to make me feel guilty." I shook my head. "You're overthinking it. Don't worry, I won't stop you. In my past life, I strongly opposed it. But it was ultimately futile. Now, having already died once, it's time to suppress my emotional impulses and make the most rational choice. In this life, I decided to let them have their way." I spent the whole day at the hospital, getting all kinds of scans. Finally, the doctor concluded, apart from slightly high blood pressure, "There's nothing wrong. At your age, you need to rest more." I breathed a sigh of relief, grateful that it wasn't cancer. I'm afraid there might be some hidden illness in my body that could trigger other diseases. By the time I left the hospital and got home, it was already completely dark. As soon as I opened the door, I heard laughter inside. When they saw me, the laughter suddenly stopped. Daughter Jiang Lan stood up from the sofa, looking somewhat displeased. "Mom, where have you been? You knew Aunt Mai was coming to stay, but you didn't even tidy up the room." I took a deep breath, barely holding back the urge to slap her. After carrying her for 10 months and giving birth to this little comfort, she's now siding with another woman to criticize me. All that suffering was for nothing. See, I didn't say a word. Xiao Mai gave a bitter smile and wheeled the chair over. "Sister Ju, I've caused you trouble. I'll leave now." Jiang Yang's expression instantly changed, pointing at me. He yelled, "Xiao Mai is already at the end of her rope. Can't you have a little sympathy?" Forcing her to leave. "Do you want her to die?" My face turned pale. On our wedding anniversary, Jiang Yang and I had planned to go out for dinner, but he stood me up, just because Xiao Mai returned from abroad and wanted to see him, but unexpectedly. They encountered a car accident on the way, resulting in injuries that ultimately led to an amputation. Jiang Yang felt deeply guilty, believing that he was the cause of the tragedy. Because Xiao Mai had switched seats with him before getting in the car, a twist of fate ended up saving him. Jiang Yang began trying to persuade me, wanting to bring her into our home and have me take care of her. But why? He's not my savior. Why should I be her maid? I disagreed, and Jiang Yang gave me a cold shoulder. Today, another heated argument broke out over this matter, so much so that I fainted from anger. When I woke up again, I found that I had been reborn. Not only did I know what would happen 7 days later, but I was also fully aware of everything that occurred before my burial. Fine, I'll just leave then. Having lived most of my life, only to have to make way for someone else in the end. How ridiculous. Walking into the bedroom, I wasn't surprised to see my clothes thrown on the floor. I quickly stuffed my things into the suitcase. As I stood up, the sight of the bright jasmine flowers and the brand new bedsheets by the bedside clawed at my heart like a cat's scratch. Jiang Yang always claims to have low emotional intelligence, saying he isn't that cunning and doesn't know how to be romantic. Yet he remembers that Xiao Mai loves jasmine flowers the most. Some people aren't incapable, they just don't care. What are you throwing a tantrum about again? If you leave, who will take care of Xiao Mai? Jiang Yang pulled me back, not letting me leave. Mom, both Dad and I have to work, and you're the only one at home with nothing to do, just idling around every day. It's really easy for you to cook at home and chat with Aunt Mai while you're at it. My daughter looked at me as if I were a child throwing a tantrum. In my previous life, I compromised. I took on the responsibility of caring for Xiao Mai, and it ended in a miserable death. Now, I just want to live an easier life. Since you love her so much, take care of her yourselves. Saying this, she took the divorce agreement out of her bag and threw it in Jiang Yang's face. Sign this, and you can take care of her all the way to the bed. No one will stop you two from being lover-dovey. Jiang Yang's face instantly darkened, suppressing his anger. He bent down to pick up the paper from the floor. At a glance, he was shocked. You're insane, not crazy, just want to survive. Sudden death was caused by their torment. Xiao Mai is already old, yet she's still acting coy and demanding, wanting this and that and more. She keeps complaining to you every day, openly and secretly, saying that I mistreat her and don't give her food to eat. Jiang Yang says I'm an ungrateful wretch. He said, if it weren't for Xiao Mai saving me, you might have become a widow. Can't you have a little conscience? I have no heart. Your conscience has been eaten by a dog. So, hurry up and get a divorce. Marriage is easy. But divorce is harder than the journey of the Tang monk to obtain the scriptures. The negotiation failed. I am not discouraged and will just stay at a hotel. Serving others is never an option. First, survive and live a long life. Waking up at noon. The hotel front desk called to say someone was looking for me. Unsurprisingly, it was the father and daughter duo. Jiang Yang was a technical backbone at the factory and was rehired after retirement, continuing to contribute to society. His daughter also had a job and was extremely busy every day. Usually, when I ask them to accompany me to the hospital, they always say they don't have time. They also say that even though I'm old, I should keep up with the times and learn from the younger generation. And not always bother others. But today, they both skipped work at the same time. What a miracle. My daughter saw how furious I was. Mom, at your age, you're still running away from home. Aren't you afraid people will laugh at you? Let them laugh. Who cares? After a lifetime of living by others' expectations, it's time to break free from the shackles of convention and live according to your own wishes. I sat leisurely and comfortably on the sofa, feeling quite relaxed. I felt a bit hungry, and just then, the server came in with the meal and arranged the dishes on the table. My daughter widened her eyes in disbelief and said, Mom, are you really willing to eat something this fancy? I ignored her and focused on devouring the food. Today, I ordered many delicious foods that I had wanted to try before but couldn't bring myself to spend money on, such as Australian lobster. In the past, whenever my father and I wanted something or craved a certain food, no matter how expensive it was, we would grit our teeth and buy it. But when it comes to myself, I always talk myself out of it, telling myself not to be greedy or indulgent. I always end up habitually shortchanging myself. They even took it for granted by the father and daughter, and looking back now, I really feel it wasn't worth it. Now that I've satisfied my appetite, my happiness index is soaring. From now on, I won't be frugal anymore. I'll spend money when it's necessary. Before, the money wasn't spent, but I ended up in the coffin. And I regretted it deeply. Ju Ying, it's just a small favor to take care of Xiao Mai. at our age, there's no need to make such a big fuss over it. Jiang Yang's implication was that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. I sneered, either get a divorce or send Xiaomai away, choose one, still trying to control me. Dream on, you wishful thinker. Jiang Yang doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, and doesn't engage in domestic violence. He is known as a good husband and a good father among the neighbors. But others don't know that he never does housework and acts like a lord every day. Every time I ask him to do something, I have to beg him repeatedly and use all kinds of nice words. Even if he does it, he drags his feet. He always mops with one hand, never wipes the water stains off the sink, and always stops just short of finishing the job. When I get so angry that I yell at him, rumors spread outside that I have a bad temper. He gets all the good reputation, while I'm left with all the bad name. I worked like a horse all my life, thinking that if I just endured it, it would pass, treating him only as a co-parent for raising the child. But in the end, he hit me with such a heavy blow. Since I can no longer endure it, I won't endure it anymore. Just break up directly, don't go too far. Jiang Yang's shouting was so loud it hurt the eardrums. I frowned. Our daughter is grown up and doesn't need care anymore. We don't have many days left to live. Wouldn't it be better to spend the rest of our lives the way we want? As a child, I lived according to my parents' wishes. As an adult, I was swept along into marriage. After having children, even if we were only pretending to get along, I would turn a blind eye and work hard to maintain appearances. Social conventions and prejudices are like an invisible dagger, confining many people within a framework. They live their lives by the book, confining themselves within the constraints of conventional thinking. But having been reborn, I want to break free from these shackles and live as my true self. Mom, if you get a divorce, where does that leave my pride? People will laugh at me. I immediately retorted, what's your pride worth? Don't take yourself so seriously. Why should we care about others' opinions and compromise ourselves while living? I realized this truth too late. Fortunately, it's not too late to make things right. After filling my stomach, I took a cup of tea and sat opposite Jiang Yang. He remained silent, saying nothing. I could only work on his thoughts, beginning to persuade him with earnest and well-intentioned advice. After we divorce, you can completely do whatever you want, even be with Xiaomai. Jiang Yang sat up slightly straighter, his index finger tightly clasping his thumb. I can tell he's a bit tempted. Keep encouraging him. For example, you always say you want to climb Mount Tai. And Xiaomai definitely won't stop you. If he insists on acting like a young person despite his joint pain and refuses to accept his age, let him go ahead and suffer the consequences. It's better to avoid doing things where your good intentions are mistaken for ill will. I took the agreement out of my bag. Sign it. I have plenty of these in my bag. I printed 20 copies. Always ready to regain my freedom. The house goes to you. The cash goes to me. No one is taking advantage of anyone. Jiang Yang stared at me in a daze. It seems he finally realized that I wasn't acting, but genuinely wanted a divorce. Instead, he became somewhat hesitant. Dad, Aunt Mai is here. Just then, the door was suddenly pushed open. I watched the two people at the door, feeling a mix of emotions. Earlier, my daughter answered a phone call, and I thought she had to leave for something urgent, but it turned out she went to pick someone up. The reason my daughter is so close to Xiaomai is because Jiang Yang, without my knowledge, takes her to see Xiaomai every year. While playing around, I ended up pouring my heart out to them, treating them like my own mother. After raising me for 35 years, there's no credit, only blame. To say it doesn't hurt would be a lie. Moreover, she was well aware of Xiaomai's identity. Brother Jiang, it's all my fault for causing discord in your family because of me. Xiaomai looked at the agreement on the table with self-reproach. You should just send me back to America. With my husband and son both gone, and my daughter-in-law and grandchild missing, I have no one to rely on. Should I go back to America and become a beggar? What a clever tactic of advancing by retreating. Dad, you promised to take care of Aunt Mai. My daughter became anxious. She turned to me and yelled, Mom, Aunt Mai is such a good person. Why can't you just accept her? You're so malicious. I was so angry that my whole body trembled, and I slapped her across the face. If you care so much about her, then you take care of her, support her, and treat her like your own mother. Recalling the events of past lives is like a pain that gnaws at the bones. Back then, when taking care of Chiao Mai, she repeatedly engaged in antisocial behaviors, such as deliberately smashing cups on the floor, cutting her hands, and burning holes in the sheets. In the end, they still say it's because I hold a grudge, so I slam things around, break objects, and torment her. It's just that both father and daughter are blind and foolish, believing everything she says. I'm not only physically exhausted, but mentally I'm on the verge of collapse, almost suffocating. You want a divorce, but are you really going to push your daughter away too? Jiang Yang looked at her as if she had lost her mind. I responded coldly, I want neither you nor her. The father and daughter were both stunned. Their expressions were completely out of control. Jiang Yang finally signed the papers. When I walked out of the door with all my luggage, I felt the air was full of freedom. My daughter held my hand, looking a bit panicked. Mom, can you leave me some money? I said expressionlessly. Adults should be self-reliant. If you want money, go ask your dad. Not only did she choose to side with Jiang Yang, but she also claimed she would support Chiao Mai in her old age, taking care of her like a real mother. My heart is not made of iron after all, and it can hurt too. Since I'm not welcome, why should I give money? It's not like I'm a masochist. Only after staying safely for 7 days in a 5-star hotel did I truly breathe a sigh of relief. Indeed, leaving toxic people is the best way to protect oneself. In the following days, I looked everywhere to rent a house. After the Lantern Festival, I found a 2-bedroom apartment that was ready to move in, close to the school, and considered a school district property. On the first day of the semester, I entered the school to teach the students. I am a university teacher who has just retired not long ago. The school once offered to rehire me to continue teaching, but I declined at the time. Now, I chose to return just to pass the time, actually. Staying at home alone and doing nothing can make the mind rusty. Scrolling through the phone every day only makes one feel increasingly empty, as it's hard to find a sense of purpose. Boring times are like a harvester, draining everyone's energy and spirit. On my way home after class, I ran into an acquaintance, Xiao Wei. When she saw me, she rushed over excitedly. Aunt Ju, her voice cracked from the excitement. Xiao Wei was once a student I sponsored. It all started when she posted on Ziro Hongshu, saying that both her parents had passed away, and due to poverty, her brother and sister-in-law were forcing her to drop out and work. However, she had excellent academic performance and a strong desire to continue her education, but she didn't know what to do. After investigating, I found that the situation was true, so the support started from middle school and continued until she finished high school. Aunt Ju, I'm going to get something. Please wait for me for a moment. After saying that, she ran off like a gust of wind. When she returned, she was carrying a nylon bag on her back. She was sweating profusely from running, her face flushed red. This is a local specialty I brought from my hometown. I originally intended to deliver it to your house. She handed it over with a hint of embarrassment. I took it, opened it for a look, and said with a smile, I love your family's cured meat and dried vegetables the most. Her eyes suddenly lit up, like the brightest stars hanging in the Milky Way. Dazzling and radiant, Xiao Wei picked up the bag, offering to help carry it home. After I declined, she seemed a little disappointed, but she quickly perked up again. Auntie Ju, I'll head off first then. See you tomorrow. After running a few steps, she turned back and waved at me, her footsteps as light as a cute little rabbit. I shook my head with a smile and carried the heavy things home. After exiting the elevator, I found Jiang Lan pacing impatiently by the door. Upon entering, she glanced at the nylon bag in the corner and curled her lips in dissatisfaction. Students these days don't even know how to give something valuable. I didn't want to argue with her and began organizing the cured meat and other items one by one. Jiang Lan didn't move, just sat on the sofa, looking utterly exhausted. Dad is sick, and Aunt Mai has no one to take care of her, since it's the weekend. Mom, could you go back and help me for a couple of days? She didn't follow my intention at all. It was more of a commanding tone. I laughed in anger. I just couldn't understand how she could say that. Not going. Early this morning, she called and said she missed me. Turns out she just wanted me to go back to be a free nanny. Jiang Lan suddenly stood up. Mom, I not only have to take care of Dad, but also do laundry and cook for Aunt Mai. I'm really exhausted. Can't you show me a little sympathy? When I was taking care of both of them at home, why did no one ever feel sorry for me? Live-in nannies these days earn nearly $10,000 a month. I've dedicated decades to this family, yet who remembers my contributions? I heard Jiang Yang quit his job to focus on taking care of Chiao Mai at home. Back then, I asked why we didn't hire a nanny, and Jiang Lan rolled her eyes. One you pay for can't have true sincerity. I never had this kind of treatment before. When I was sick, I lay in bed alone with no one to take care of me. The father and daughter still think I'm a superhero with the ability to heal myself. From now on, don't come to me for anything related to Chiao Mai. I have nothing to do with her. Jiang Lan returned defeated and, before leaving, made a harsh remark. Don't come begging me when you get sick in the future. I didn't say a word. Truth be told, I had long given up on this daughter. I didn't deliberately announce my divorce to others. People saw me coming and going alone, and when a colleague got curious, I mentioned it casually. This matter quickly spread throughout the entire school, and opinions were divided. Some people said that getting a divorce at such an age would make the future uncertain, but others admired my courage and expressed their support. Whether they felt sympathy or took pleasure in my situation, I didn't care. You never know what will happen first, tomorrow or an accident. It's better to live in the present and deal with the future later. Although there is a lot of gossip, Xiao Wei still often shows up around me. After learning about my divorce, she even started coming over from time to time to help me clean and keep me company. Everyone says she's trying to curry favor with me, hoping to gain some benefits from it. I just laughed it off when I heard it. I sponsored Xiao Wei for 6 years. When she was filling out her college application, she resolutely chose the school where I teach. When I met her for the first time, her eyes were filled with tears, and she said excitedly, "Aunt Ju, I don't have the ability to repay you right now. I just want to be closer to you." She is a strong-willed girl. When she went to college, she absolutely refused to let me support her and instead applied for a national student loan. She is actually very busy. I don't have much free time. I used to work as a tutor outside of school to earn some living expenses. Now, I work as a photographer for others. I heard that the work she posts online have received great feedback, and she has many followers, making her somewhat of a minor internet celebrity. I both admire and appreciate her. From the countryside to a first-tier city, getting into a bachelor's program relied not only on unyielding perseverance but also on a never-give-up spirit. Time flies, and soon it was graduation season. I was wondering how to pass the time during the summer vacation. Unexpectedly, Xiao Wei invited me to go on a trip together. I frowned upon hearing that. She seemed to sense my concerns. Playfully leaning close to my ear, she whispered, "Aunt Ju, I have money. I promised you when I was little that I'd take you traveling." When she was young, she'd often call me on her sister-in-law's old phone and made all sorts of promises to me. I didn't take it seriously, but she seemed to keep it in mind. I agreed with Xiao Wei that our first stop would be Yunnan. On the evening before departure, Jiang Lan suddenly came to me. She said hesitantly, "Mom, Housie says he wants to get married. What do you think we should do about this? Make your own decision. Just don't regret it." After my daughter got divorced, she went back to her ex-boyfriend against my wishes. Housie is a good-for-nothing, without a proper job, and a total loser. But Jiang Lan is a hopeless romantic. Someone says a few sweet words, and she's ready to give her heart to him. Back then, I tried to stop her once and chose a well-matched son-in-law for her, so she could marry with great fanfare. Unfortunately, she couldn't forget her first love and ended up ruining the marriage. Now I don't even want to get involved. Whatever happens, happens. Having been hurt, bled, and hit the wall, perhaps she will finally come to her senses. Jiang Lan was stunned. Finding it hard to accept, she asked dazedly, "Mom, you used to advise me before, why now?" I took a sip of water and did not answer. Instead, it was a dismissal. "If there's nothing else, you can go." After years of nagging about the same topic, what more is there to say? She isn't annoyed, but I'm already tired of it. Jiang Lan suddenly darkened her expression, a cold smile curling at the corner of her lips. "Aunt Mai was right after all. You just don't want me to be happy. You don't want me to marry the one I love. Well, I'm going to marry him anyway. I clutched my chest, feeling as if I couldn't breathe. Go, just go, don't come back anymore. I'll pretend I never had you. Since you're an ungrateful wretch, it's time to cut ties and move on. Without me, who will you rely on when you're old? I'm your only family. That arrogant expression made my heart ache even more. Get out. After they left, my heart was still beating fast, and I felt very uncomfortable. With trembling hands, I dialed 120, then called Xiao Wei. I was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. But fortunately, it turned out to be a close call. Xiao Wei leaned over my bedside, crying so hard she could barely catch her breath. She said, "Aunt Ju, let me move in with you. I'm really worried about you." I feel both heartbroken and warmed. This incident has taught me a lesson. Everyone says raising children ensures support in old age, but if the children are unfilial, they come not to repay kindness, but to seek revenge. I had been raising it for half a month before Xiao Wei and I went to Yunnan. She took photos for me. We tried various delicious foods, experienced the local life, and even met many travel enthusiasts. Every day was incredibly exciting. Seeing how happy I was, Xiao Wei cheerfully ran over with her camera. "Aunt Ju, how about we move on to the next city? Look, we've gained more followers again. The fans are asking me to film more of you. They really enjoy watching you." I looked at the comments section, feeling a mix of emotions I couldn't quite put into words. Ever since Xiao Wei posted the story of how we met online, everyone has been calling me Aunt Ju the kind-hearted. They say I lifted her up, helping her step onto a bigger stage and embark on a new life. Everyone is thanking me for my good deed. If it was I who pulled Xiao Wei out of the mud. But the one who deserves the most gratitude should be herself. If it weren't for the awards plastered all over the mud wall, if it weren't for the deep longing in her eyes, I probably wouldn't have sponsored her. After all, no one's money comes easily. Where there is effort, there should be reward. Although I never intended to gain anything from her, my original intention was simply to add one more woman's strength to society. Next stop, Wuzhen. I've wanted to go to this place for a long time, but unfortunately, no one would come with me. Xiao Wei smiled and nodded cheerfully. I thought for a moment and asked her, "Are you sure we don't need to pay?" It's a bit embarrassing to say, but so far, I haven't spent a single penny. Xiao Wei said that after the story and pictures were posted, they quickly went viral online. Businesses chased after them, offering to pay for advertisements to ride the wave of popularity. Money kept coming in every day, so there was no need to worry about running out of cash. You can relax, eat, drink, and have fun. Not only will I cover all your expenses, but I'll also share the profits with you later. Xiao Wei affectionately wrapped her arm around mine, laughing freely. The bright sunlight fell on her face, making her look exceptionally beautiful. Compared to the timid girl she was 10 years ago, she was like a completely different person. I sighed inwardly, shaking my head with a smile. No need to give me money. I have a pension and savings, and I don't lack money to spend. Just as I was having so much fun outside that I forgot to return home, my ex-husband called. He sounded somewhat displeased. "Our daughter is getting married. You should come back for the wedding." Without a second thought, I refused outright. Half a month ago, Jianglan called me asking for money. She said without any hesitation, "Mom, you need to give me at least 300,000 for the wedding." I hung up the phone directly. I gave her face. For her first marriage, I gave her 400,000. Second marriage and still trying to take advantage. After the divorce, I never saw her show any concern, only knowing how to take without giving. No one will indulge such a selfish person, even if she is my daughter. Xiao Wei and I traveled everywhere and never went back to teaching. This is the best of times. Happily playing every day, uploading photos and videos online, and inserting a few ads. And the money comes in. Unlike the old days of working diligently and saving money bit by bit, the dividends brought by the internet not only support us but also allow me to meet many people from all walks of life. I also experienced many activities I had never tried before, and most importantly, it broadened my horizons. As the new year approached, I finally returned home. The next day, however, My ex-husband showed up at my door. He looked me up and down with a complicated expression and said, "Since leaving me, not only have you been doing better, but your life has also become so much more vibrant." I smiled without saying a word. After being hospitalized due to Jianglan's provocation, I immediately blocked all contact information for both the father and daughter. After they found out, they could only call me using someone else's phone. Jiang Yang must have come across me online. After all, I'm somewhat of a minor internet celebrity now, and many relatives and friends know about it. I leaned against the door and told him to stop dawdling and get straight to the point. Jiang Yang has changed a lot. He was hunched over, as if carrying a mountain on his back. The clothes hung loosely on his body, empty and gaunt, as thin as a stick. His appearance looked a full 10 years older. A world of difference from before. He seemed to be doing very poorly. "Your daughter is sick. Go see her." "I don't want to go, even after half a year has passed. I still can't forget the pain of being on the brink of death." I was gasping for breath and collapsed on the sofa, but she turned a blind eye. "Now, whether she is doing well or not, it has nothing to do with me. I'm not going." But Jiang Yang is picking a fight with me. He's stubbornly refusing to leave. I'm so annoyed that I have no choice but to go to the hospital. Jianglan saw me and burst into tears. She rolled up her sleeves, revealing bruised skin. "Mom, Hausi is not human, apart from her face, which remained unscathed. Her entire body was covered in injuries. A shocking sight to behold. He not only abused me but also gambled, swindling all my money. Now I have nothing left." As she spoke, she began to wail uncontrollably. "Mom, I really regret it so much. If I had listened to you back then, I wouldn't have been pinned to the ground and beaten." After hearing her sobbing, I remained silent. Jiang Yang had previously told me the whole story from beginning to end. The young couple lived a blissful life after getting married, but the good times didn't last long. One day, debt collectors came to their door, saying Hausi owed a lot of money. Hausi's gambling addiction was exposed. Jianglan confronted him, and at first, he tried to sweet-talk and pacify her. Later, he simply stopped pretending, showed his true colors, and would hit her whenever he was unhappy. The relationship between the two became increasingly tense, and the violence grew more severe. I sneered coldly upon hearing this. A person can pretend for a while, but not for a lifetime. Now that they've tricked the person into their hands, they have nothing to fear and completely drop the act. Jianglan could have avoided stepping into the trap. It's a pity she didn't heed my advice, which led to this outcome. I don't feel the slightest bit of sympathy for her. Instead, I want to scold her harshly. "Serves you right. Wait until Jianglan's emotions have stabilized, without wasting words." I got straight to the point with my suggestion. "You should get a divorce." She stared at me blankly, hesitating a bit. "Mom, I'm pregnant. Just get rid of it directly. A long pain is worse than a short one. A child born into such a family will not be happy. A useless mother, a gambling father, a broken home. Starting life on the hardest difficulty. Just thinking about these things makes my scalp tingle. I want to keep this child." Hearing this, I stopped trying to persuade her. I knew she was unwilling to accept it, unwilling to accept that her final choice was wrong, still trying to use the child to win over a heartless man. Although most men in this world are inherently selfish, bound by morality, they have their limits. However, expecting a gambler to turn over a new leaf is undoubtedly a fantasy. As I reached the door, I bumped into Jiang Yang pushing Qiaomai inside. When Qiaomai saw me, a flicker of displeasure flashed in her eyes. Her smile was insincere. Jianglan is too willful. After getting married, how can she come back to her parents' home every day? Sister Ju, you really need to talk some sense into her. I ignored her and turned to glare at my ex-husband. Your daughter was beaten like this. Why didn't you call the police? Jiang Yang stammered. She doesn't live properly, causing trouble every day, making the whole family restless. Qiaomai said family scandals shouldn't be aired in public, so we can't call the police. I looked at the father and daughter, speechless. If I hadn't kept the matter under wraps, Jianglan's reputation would have been ruined long ago. She took 200,000 from brother Jiang and spent every day fooling around with Hausi. The couple didn't work, living off their savings. They only started causing trouble after running out of money. How old is she and still wants to rely on her parents? No matter how much money the family has, it won't be enough for her to squander. Chiao Mai spoke with sarcasm and a look of disdain. Upon hearing this, Jiang Lan exploded. She jumped off the bed and started cursing. How come my dad's money can't be given to me? You do nothing all day, just spread your legs and fake a few tears, and my dad showers you with cash. What kind of person are you, anyway? I was dumbfounded. They used to be as close as mother and daughter, so how did they end up fighting like mortal enemies now? It's only been half a year. But people and situations have developed beyond my imagination. Chiao Mai was so angry she nearly fainted. Tears welling up in her eyes, she tilted her head at a 45-degree angle and cried out pitifully, "Brother Jiang." The lingering tone of her voice echoed, making the listener's heart melt. Jiang Lan pointed at her nose and scolded, "At your age, and you still call him so disgustingly. If you love acting so much, why not break into the entertainment industry and star in a drama called The CEO Falls for My Stepmother?" Upon hearing this, everyone present fell silent. Jiang Lan's bizarre remarks made the atmosphere unbearably awkward. Jiang Yang led the people to evacuate urgently. I didn't leave. I wanted to watch the drama, so I asked Jiang Lan what had happened recently, and why she was feuding with Chiao Mai. She sighed and began to explain the reason. It turned out that Jiang Lan couldn't get money from me, so she went to pester her ex-husband. Jiang Yang had intended to sell the 4-bedroom apartment and buy a 2-bedroom one instead, so that half of the extra money could be given to her, but Chiao Mai suddenly objected and firmly refused. She said it was unheard of for a daughter to keep taking money from her parents' home, and with her attitude, they couldn't count on her for support in their old age. Jiang Yang took her words to heart and didn't insist any further. Finally, we barely managed to scrape together 200,000 for the dowry. The bride's family had no money, and the groom's family was even poorer, making the wedding a rather shabby affair that was the subject of private gossip for a long time. Mom, every time I go back to my parents' home, she gives me a cold shoulder and keeps whispering in Dad's ear. Jiang Lan started crying again as she spoke, sobbing intermittently. They say that with a stepmother comes a stepfather, and they were absolutely right. I must have been blind back then to have treated her like my own mother. I sighed. There is a cause for every effect. I can't blame anyone else. I didn't say anything more, just told her to focus on recovering. She couldn't bear to abort the child, yet she couldn't stand on her own feet, and no one could help her. After resting at home for a day, I had planned to go to the street to buy some New Year's goods. But I didn't make it. Jiang Lan came. As soon as she entered the door, she knelt in front of me, wailing and howling. "Mom, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please, save me." As soon as the words were spoken, footsteps sounded from behind. Looking up, I saw my so-called good son-in-law, Housie. He grinned obsequiously, trying to please. "Mom, you really look younger and younger." Jiang Lan saw him hiding behind me in terror, sobbing. "Mom, he tied me up and tortured me. Couples fight, but they make up by the end of the day. Mom, am I right?" That shameless, unapologetic look on his face was infuriating to see. "I really don't want to deal with this mess, but if we don't settle this today, no one will have peace." Without another word, I immediately took out my phone and called the police. Housie panicked. "Mom, we were just playing around. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. Anyway, the police station is right downstairs. When we bought the apartment, that was one of the main reasons. It ensures personal safety." The officer arrived quickly. After hearing the whole story, he took the man away and told us to come to the station later to give our statements. I turned to Jiang Lan and said, "If you don't want to stay with him, go straight to the hospital to get your injuries examined, obtain a medical report, gather all the evidence, and file a lawsuit when the time comes." She almost fainted from crying. "Divorce, I've really had enough." Her disheveled hair clung to her bruised face, making her look utterly wretched. "Mom, I'm sorry. I was so foolish. I shouldn't have divorced Qinshun in the first place." She clenched her fists tightly, overwhelmed by regret. I withdrew my hand, looked at her broken finger, and had no desire to say a word. Qinshun was the son-in-law I had carefully chosen. He was once my student. He was good-looking, had a bachelor's degree, came from a good family. and knew how to handle himself with grace. After catching Jiang Lan cheating, he didn't make a scene. Instead, he knelt before me, blaming himself and saying, "Teacher, I'm sorry. I can't give your daughter the happiness she deserves. When we divorced, Jiang Lan wanted to divide the property, but I stopped her, as the one at fault. How could I have the nerve to take what belongs to someone else? I was determined to find a family of equal social status for my daughter. This not only ensures that both families have similar backgrounds and education levels, but also that their values align closely, allowing the small family to thrive in the long run. Unfortunately, Jiang Lan did not cherish it. Her marriage, which she entered with a downward compromise, did not bring the happiness she had imagined. Instead, it left her scarred and broken. But all of this was what she deserved. I recommended a highly skilled divorce lawyer to Jiang Lan. I wasn't involved in what happened afterward. By the time everything was settled, it was already a month later. Housie was sentenced to 1 year of hard labor for the crime of abuse. After this incident, Jiang Lan came to a complete realization and decided not to remarry. She wanted to move in with me. But I refused. I haven't lost my memory. Those hurts are still lingering in my mind, never forgotten. 2 days before New Year's Eve, Xiao Wei suddenly showed up. Along with her brother and sister-in-law and their 5-year-old twin sons, they all came, bringing a pile of gifts to the door. Xiao Wei smiled and said, "Aunt Ju, we're coming to your place for New Year's this year, and next year we'll go to mine. That way, it'll be lively with more people. You won't kick us out, will you?" The family of 5 all wore pained expressions, pretending to be pitiful. I was more than willing and deeply moved. On this important day of reunion, they traveled thousands of miles just for me. They made me truly believe that human nature is inherently good. On the 29th, we went shopping in a grand procession. At the entrance of the women's clothing section in the large mall, we found people arguing, approaching for a closer look. I never expected it to be my ex-husband and his family of 3. At this moment, Chiao Mai looked somewhat disheveled. Her wheelchair had fallen to the side, and she was lying on the ground with no one helping her up. All because Jiang Yang and his daughter were in the middle of an argument. After listening for a while, I realized that Chiao Mai wanted to buy a coat worth 5,000 yuan. Jiang Lan refused. She jumped up, pointing at Chiao Mai on the ground, and said, "Have you no shame? A little flower like you has the nerve to wear such expensive clothes." Jiang Yang's face flushed red, and he remained silent, faced with everyone's pointing and staring. Chiao Mai buried her face in her chest in embarrassment. I didn't go up to say hello. Instead, I decided to go to another store to buy clothes, but sharp-eyed Jiang Lan grabbed me by the arm. She was filled with anger. "Mom, you've never worn such expensive clothes. Why should she get to wear them?" I just smiled. My ex-husband was actually quite stingy. Even if Jiang Lan hadn't stopped me, I wouldn't have agreed to spend so much money on a piece of clothing. Otherwise, why would I just stand there, letting my daughter jump around? Willingly losing face without saying a word. No matter how devoted a man is, he will eventually grow tired of facing the same woman for too long. It's like enjoying apples. Eating them every day makes you occasionally crave a change of flavor, especially at an older age, needing someone to attend to you every day. No matter how perfect the first love was, it will inevitably be shattered by reality. Without exception, I went into the clothing store, tried on some clothes, and picked out a few that I liked. While paying, Jiang Lan squeezed forward. "Mom, I'll buy it for you." Upon seeing the bill above, she was instantly speechless. Stammering, she said, "Mom, you really don't hold back. When it comes to spending money on yourself, there's no need to be stingy. Now, even a single piece of my clothing costs over 10,000 yuan. Not to mention, I have money now." Xiao Wei returned the money I had sponsored for 6 years and also gave me a considerable share of the profits. When I tried to pay by scanning the code, the shop owner smiled and waved his hand. "Your little girl has already paid." Xiao Wei looked pitiful and rubbed against me. "I've wanted Aunt Ju to be my mom for a long time. Could you give me a chance to prove myself?" My brother and sister-in-law, standing beside me, nodded repeatedly, saying things like their family was unworthy of such an honor. Suddenly, the 2 twin dolls clung to my legs, looking up at me with their adorable little faces. All the other classmates have grandmothers. I want a grandmother too. Tears streamed down my face, crying and laughing at the same time. Jiang Yang and the others, who were watching the scene, looked on with complex expressions. In the face of life, everything else is trivial. And Jianglan called out weakly, "Mom." I ignored her and instead took Xiao Wei's hand, my gaze gentle. "Whatever you want, Mom will buy it for you." Wow, I'm so happy. From now on I have a mom who cares for me too. An excited scream pierced the sky. They crowded around me and led me into another store, all vowing to pay for me. I took off my old clothes, as if discarding past grievances, and put on one beautiful outfit after another, welcoming a new chapter. In this life, I have restarted my journey. Happiness blooms into a beautiful flower in my heart, and my journey into the future has only just begun.